तकनीकी रुकावट के लिए खेद है। श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण, one of the most sacred texts, so sacred that there are parts wherein instead of worshipping an idol, instead of worshipping a certain form of God, they worship this very book as the embodiment of Lord Shri Krishna himself. Blessed are we all that we have this opportunity to think, to contemplate, to dwell couple of moments thinking about the Lord's glories. There are certain questions which hit a self-made man when certain things happen to them in their life. And when it happens with a great impact. Till then, probably we don't understand the seriousness or the sincerity of such questions. And I firmly believe even those intense situations, problematic situations, are in the design of that Supreme so that we can turn introvert. Such is the impact of life's experiences that the naked truth of life starts staring at us. In fact, it has been staring at us for lives together, and we become aware of it after that impact. There are all great devotees that we hear, the sudden change, U-turn in their life. The Bhakta Kanakadas, he was a great devotee. He was a lyricist. Even today in the Carnatic music, especially the Kannada songs, they sing. They say that in his life, he was a great businessman. So rich that in those days, he had doors, windows, railings made of gold studded with diamonds for his house. Probably he had that much of assets, couple of Bill Gates put together. And he was extremely selfish, stingy, would not love to share his money with anybody other than his immediate wife, children. Even his relatives were scared of him even to ask for certain help. The events in his life happen in such fast pace that there is a U-turn in his life wherein he plans, he decides that all that which he has been possessing so far has been the hindrance between him and his own God. Lavishly he starts giving it to anybody and anywhere. They just have to ask him for that. And he just says, "This is Lord's, take it." And then started singing great glories of Lord. He was known as one of the greatest saints. So there is something that hits them. And when it hits so deep that there are certain questions that pop up. In fact, if you are intelligent enough, one good reading of even Bhaja Govindam can kick that mind into a straight channel. But we love listening to it only as a song. beautifully, melodiously sung in various ragas. So enchanting is the music that early morning we start off with that. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. M.S. Subbalakshmi has done a great job. Even if we can dwell on one shloka, the first shloka, I tell you, it hits so hard, deep inside. Wherein the question that really pops up: what am I doing? What is the purpose? Why am I here in the first place? What am I supposed to do? Now, with these prominent questions, I think sometimes they do click. But when they click, it is because of the temporary dispassion, vairagya, born. As it is temporary, so temporary, it just wanes away, vanishes in thin air. When somebody has lost a loved one, and all these questions pop up. Why does this have to happen? Philosophically charged questions. And then those questions find their corner, start growing fungus on that, and they're in the corner and we go on with life. Life has to move on. Those who have had such experiences wherein life has suddenly changed its meaning, priorities fall in place. What is a priority? That for which we have come, that for which we should be spending our time, energy, that priority gets realigned. That is called a U-turn. In fact, Mother Ganga flowing down from the Himalayas, wherever she has taken a U-turn towards her own source, that place becomes a Punya Kshetra. Because it's turning towards its own source. And all these Punya Kshetras carry the name called Kashi. We have one called Kashi Banaras. Then there is one where Swami Taponji Maharaj lived almost all his life. It's called Uttara Kashi. In all these places we see that Gangaji turns towards herself. And if you dwell on that particular word, what does Kashi mean? The root word is Kasha. Kasha meaning illumination. It is that root word which when used becomes Prakasha, illumining. What does it illumine? What does it get illumined at that place? When you turn to your source, you are closer, you are going towards that source of illumination, reaching where? There is no more effort, there is no more necessity of any kind of doing required. But when does that turning become important? When we know that we have our priorities to set straight. And this is what happens to Parikshit Maharaj. A great Shrota. In the first skanda, first canto, very beautifully describes who should be the Shrota. Not the Sota. Shrota. The listener. The hearer is called the Sota. Who is the listener, Shrota? The way they the sincerity of approach towards the subject. It is not that they are clear, it is not that they are firm about this knowledge, but their shraddha in the way of their asking peeps out. More than any field of science, this field of science of spirituality requires maximum shraddha. One very valid reason why we need shraddha. All that you see and interact with is called an illusion. That which you have never seen, never heard, never experienced is called the absolute reality. Now, to believe in such an absurd statement, you definitely require a lot of shraddha, belief, firm faith. In the end of the first canto, we find Parikshit Maharaj asking 7 questions. These 7 questions are not peripheral questions like, why am I here? Why is this universe created? How long ago was this universe created? How does it matter? By answering these questions, do you reach towards your source? Do you get that kind of satisfaction? Do you reach to your inner core of contentment? No, it is another intellectual itch. Not that we are satisfied by any other answer. We have our own pet answers inside and we try out. चलो बोल देख तो ले कि ये महात्मा क्या बोलता है. They're all intellectual queries. Far beyond from why am I here, what should I do, the questions of the Shrota, the listener here, are pretty straightforward. In fact, it is said, when you meet a great Mahatma, like Parikshit meets Shuka Maharaj, these are the kinds of questions that you should ask. The other day somebody asked me, Swami, आपका धंधा कैसा चल रहा है? I also very humbly said, बस आपकी कृपा है. What else to say? All asking, peripheral, unnecessary gossips. What do you think will happen to India at this current state of growth? की फर्क पैंदा भैया? What difference does it make? What do you think Musharraf's standpoint against India? क्या Google दिखता हूं क्या मैं? That you can punch in some question or what? Some answers will 0.867 seconds. 453 solutions, answers found. This dot here doesn't say that click here. They're very superficial, peripheral questions. The way you ask, the way you seek shows the sincerity behind. I have told you this even earlier, that there are people who ask questions not because they want answers. They are in love with their own questions. And they know very well what would be the answer also. But then they have taken a standpoint and they want to test. There are second kinds of queries, wherein these are people who are highly intellectual, have gone through all kinds of books, left, right, middle, have formed their own concoction of philosophy, and then they want to test. ये जो वक्ता है, ये वक्ता है या बक्ता है? how much is the firmness in knowledge. They want to test. Good sometimes, even for the speaker, such people and their acid test helps. But then the very mode of asking is, Swamiji, I have asked this question to many people. Since you were touching on that topic, I thought I could ask you also. After 14 years now, I have also learnt. Hearing the question, I said, I sincerely think I don't know the answer. Khatam discussion. The second kind. Now third. They firmly believe that this whole concept in the philosophy and the Sanatana Dharma is wrong. They have complete Shraddha that this is a big hocus pocus. That disbelief can be seen in their voice, in their action, in their eyes. They don't want to believe, so they throw up a challenge. Try to convince me. And rare few, very rare, that you come across a person with integrity, with that simplicity, that yearning zeal to understand, to go beyond this limitation. Like Lord Yama in Kathopanishad very frankly accepts it with Nachiketa. He says, blessed I am, the teacher himself says, blessed I am to have a student like you who is sincere enough, dispassionate enough to ask for that supreme reality, and I can see that sincerity in your eyes. Very rare we find such gems of students. Now what were the questions asked by this Parikshit, the Shrota? The last few, third, I think they are the last, the first canto, last chapter, last 3 shlokas or 4 shlokas. Atah prachhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushasyeha yat karyam mriyamanasya sarvatha yat shrotavyam atho japyam yat kartavyam rubhit prabho smartavyam bhajaniyam va brūhi yadva viparyayam nyūnam bhagavato brahman griheshu grihamedhinam na lakshyate hi avasthanam api godohanam kvachit. Beautiful questions that he asks. Now, these are the kinds of questions which shows what kind of thinking, contemplation, processing that particular individual has gone through to ask such a refined questions. There is no ambiguity. We may not be clear about the answers, at least we have to be clear about the questions. There was one lady who had to ask that how different is Hinduism from Buddhism? And the question went on 2 pages, 4 pages. The crux of it was, what is the difference between Hinduism and Buddhism? Meaning that there is no spashtata of the question itself. But look at the simplicity in which he asks. He says, Pruchhami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum. You are the greatest guru of even the yogis. The great rishis revere you for your knowledge, dispassion and experience. Imagine when Shukdev Maharaj enters the place where Parikshit Raja was sitting. All great rishis had assembled there. Maitreya, there were Narada, Tumburu, Yajnavalkya, Vedavyasa himself. Vedavyasji taught everything to Shukadevji. But because of his level of reveling into that Supreme, everybody, including the father, gets up in reverence to that Shukadevji. You are the best thing that could have happened in my life. That in spite of me being a king who had done such adharma, can be only said that it is grace of the Lord that all of you great people have come in this moment to help me go beyond the limitations. Hence, I ask you these questions. Purushasya iha yat karyam. Of an individual, Purushasya here does not mean the opposite gender of Stri. Purishayanat Purushaha. It is the Jiva who is living in this Pura, assembly of body, mind and intellect. Purushasya, of the individual, iha, in this world, he is not asking why are we born, what is the proof that there is an earlier birth, what is the proof that there will be after birth, what was the reason that we say that karma, vasana, when was the first karma, when was the first vasana. He is not interested in that kind of superficial questions. Whatever be the reason why I am here, now tell me what should be the absolute purpose, karyam kim. What is the purpose of the individual? The second question is again very beautiful. What is the art of dying? Mriyamanasya sarvatha yat karyam. What is the art of dying? What should one who is definitely destined to die, what should he do? The first time I read this question, the answer that popped in my head, die. But it is not that simple, the question. Mriyamanasya, of the one who is definite to die. Now this is another amazing aspect of human psychology. Death is such a continuous thing happening all around us. The one who is ready to die even in the evening, not that he is willing to die, but the doctors have already declared that you have only couple of hours. Once I met this interesting person. The doctors had declared he had 7-8 hours only. So their relatives and everybody said, Swamiji, why don't you come and meet him? So I went to meet him. And I said, do you know what the doctors have declared? He said, yes. Do you have anything in the last to be fulfilled or to be thought of, to be talked of? He said, yes, I have one desire. I said, what is it? Can you take me to another doctor? Probably he will fill in some hope. You will die a couple of months later. And the prayer is, Swami, pray for me that I can live for another. I can live long. They don't specify the time. So that I live long. Pray for me. And then the next day morning you get the information that no more. Knowing that death is such a certain thing, we are not prepared. We are always thinking about yesterday. While we have to live in this moment, we are thinking of the past moment. And when death does happen, where are we? In some past moments, some regrets. Is that the way one has to die, or there is some different way to die? Because everybody, whether he is a king, whether he is a beggar, whether he is an aristocrat, whether he is a knowledgeable person, whether he is a fool, everybody dies the same way. And the body merges into this Panchakosha, Panchatattva. Not Panchakosha. If death is that certain, what is the art of? Next he asks, Yat shrotavyam athaha. What should be heard? What should be listened to? Take out the will and then trying to decide who had been fair to me, who had been unfair to me, and finally decide nobody was fair to me, so have the whole property given to my dog. That is literally going to dogs. That is why they say, where there is a will, put my name there. What should be heard? Is it that I should call a doctor or a lawyer, or what should I listen to? Their words or something better? Shrotavyam athaha. Japyam yat kartavyam nrubihi prabho. What should be, or whose japa should be done? Imagine how much processing he has done. Japa, thinking of the Lord, taking the name of the Lord is a must. That much he has concluded. He has come to his own contemplative conclusion. But whose name is it that we should do the japa of? Then he says, Smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhiyadva viparyayam. Whose smarana should we do? Is it of my things and worldly possession that I should do the smarana of? Or is it all those people who have not helped me or been unfair to me, or to whom I have been unfair, I keep regretting about, I should think about that? Smaraniyam. Or there is something worthwhile to think about. Bhajaniyam vakim. Whose bhajana? Bhaja, seva, bhaja, puja, bhaja. It has many meanings. So bhajaniyam, who is the one worthy of worship? And I really feel blessed that you are there to answer this, who normally does not stay in a place more than the time taken for milking a cow. Such a one has come himself saying, ask if you have anything to ask. This must be the really grace of the Lord. It seems once Gurudev was on December 25th in Bombay, in the ashram, he was explaining about Jesus the Christ. It was so inspiring. People had almost tears in their eyes listening to his life. One overwhelmed devotee who was sitting there comes to Gurudev saying, Swamiji, wish I was there at the time of Christ. I would have worshipped him. Lucky were those people who really got blessed by him. When the opportunity strikes, we are not there. We are regretting of not having a Christ. And he was talking directly to Swamiji. They said, open your eyes, there are enough Mahatmas as great as Christ right here in your world. Even if they are, how many of us are ready to make use of their presence? Now this is the lakshana of the Shrota, a sincere Shrota, listener. Then the second is the description of the Vakta. How should be the Vakta? That description is also given in this whole first canto, wherein it is none other than Shukadevji Maharaj. Now who is this Shukadevji Maharaj? Dispassionate right from core. He used to be so dispassionate that he thought nothing else other than the Lord is required to be thought of. When we meet people, they have different opinions of their spiritual life. Swamiji, I'll buy a kutia somewhere. Once I'm done with my responsibilities, I'll go to that kutia and start doing my japa tapa. See, as long as you have that asakti for kutia, which takes more priority than the Lord, where will the Lord's worship be done? We had one devotee of the Gurudev. He used to be he's still there in Guntur, in Andhra Pradesh. Gurudev used to call him A to Z Rao. Because his name had almost all alphabets there. P, V, L, N, P, P, S, K, R, S, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, Rao. So Gurudev used to call him A to Z Rao. So he built a palatial building according to the Vastu Shastra. And in the Ishanya, northeast corner, had the Lord, beautiful, made of that makrana or that marble. No, marble. Why? Of course, marble is. Even this has to be in a balance. So he had beautifully carved statues of his Ishtadeva, nicely decorated that temple, very grand that temple was. In Andhra Pradesh, in that particular belt, it can get very hot. Almost 120 to 130 for almost 1.5, 2 months. So he had that particular chamber AC, so that while doing puja he would not sweat for it. So he invited Swamiji. Swamiji, bless my temple. So Gurudev appreciated. Good that you have the Lord not in some closet somewhere where you cannot anyway not reach, so put the Lord there. But you have provided enough space worthy of that Lord. So he went there and said, you have such a beautiful place. Have you started meditating using this place? Swamiji, that is the only problem. I am searching for deer skin. Why? In Bhagavad Gita it is said, Chaila ajina kushottaram. Ajina meaning the skin of the deer. That has to be put, and then sitting on which, on the cloth, spread on that deer skin, then you should meditate. So I am procuring that. As long as you have asakti for procuring these things, where will you have asakti for the Lord? Sometimes when I look at the Gurudev's vision in creating this mission, amazing is the vision. Everybody has this itch of vasanas inside. And this is a right platform to exhaust your vasanas, not for a selfish reason, but for a selfless cause, and dedicate it for that selfless cause. Any kind of vasana. Swamiji, I cannot relate to this talks and I need to do something. So what do you want to do? Take up that activity, go ahead, do it. I can't sit constant for that 1.5 hour lecture of yours. I am a good handyman. Okay, we have lot of stuff to handle. Go, handle that. Any kind of vasana itch inside, that platform is provided, and you start exhausting it for a higher altar. Shukdev Ji Maharaj thought, if I stay in one place, have my own ashram, my own devotees, my own setup, kahe ka jhanjhat. That's another samsara. There is this beautiful story called Kaupina Samrakshanartham. Kaupina means a lion cloth. There was this little brahmachari. In the earlier days, they used to wear only a kaupina, and then in the bhiksha time, they go ask for bhiksha and come back. So almost regularly every day, he used to ask for food as well as an extra lion cloth, a piece of cloth extra. So there was this particular household wherein he used to go regularly and they used to give food and a piece of cloth. What is your problem? Why are you asking for a lion cloth regularly? Because it was unusual for any other brahmachari to ask. And what to tell you? At Guruji's place, lot of rats. I put my cloth to dry, and some unreachable corners also they reach and bite. Bite it in such fashion that they are into tidbits and cannot make use of it anymore. I said, why don't you take our cat? Cats are the enemies of rats. So your problem solved. Very bright idea. Good. So he takes the cat home. So instead of asking for a lion cloth, now he says, Bhikshan dehi. After the bhiksha is given, Dugdam dehi. Dugdam? Royal brahmachari hai bhai. No, not for me, for my cat. Somebody saw that and said, I have a buffalo. I can give you that. I said, very good. Bright idea, nice solution. He had a buffalo. So that he can take the milk and feed the cat. Probably first few weeks, he had patchwork here and there. When he was new person trying to milk, and then he soon found that to maintain a buffalo, oh boy, he eats a lot. You need lot of grass. So he used to beg for grass. So there was this landlord on whose one corner of land they had this little hut of theirs, the Guruji and his Shishya. So that landlord looked at his problem and said, I'll give you an extended piece of land, grow grass there so that your buffalo can survive. Now if you have land, it has to be tilled and it has to be maintained, and so he employed a couple of people. This buffalo gave birth to 2-3 calves. He had a big goshala. To maintain that goshala, he employed a servant maid. And since he anyway was coming to clean, he said, can you cook for me? And they both got married. A couple of children themselves. So kuch set ban gaya tha. Guruji came back from his Tirtha Yatra. He said, where is my kutia? Then the Shishya came. He was no more thin, no more choti. He was a nice, well-built. Akhanda mandalakaram vyaptam yena characharam. So he said, Guruji, namaskar. And then he did namaskar, chamatkar. Are you that same fellow? Kya karu? What happened? Kaupina samrakshanartham. All for protecting a kaupina. I am this now. Shukadevji Maharaj understood that. He was so dispassionate right from inside that he refused to come out of the mother's womb. Maya Jagat, I don't want to come. So mother said, how long will I carry you like this? Baba re Baba, you are growing. Then father thought of a scheme. He said, if you promise me to show the Lord, because Lord Krishna was there at that time available. If you bring him, I'll have his darshan so I can come out. He had his darshan, did namaskar to the Lord, and did not even turn to say, Mom, thank you for bearing me so long. Dad, thank you. Nothing. He went away. To do what? To do tapas. No mom, no dad, no bandhu, no sambandha. If there is sambandha, there is some bandha. Wherever there is a bond, it leads to bondage. He said, I don't need any bond. Because I don't want to be bound. He went for his tapasya. Then realizing his mistake, father who had little bit of attachment, Vedavyasji himself had developed some concern and attachment for his son. He grew over his attachment, then he went search for his son, gave him the knowledge that he had. And that was the only relation, Guru-Sishya Sambandha. Such a great dispassionate one is this Guru. Who did not want to have any ashram, who did not want to have any devotee, who did not want to have any disciples. In spite of reveling in the supreme state, all that he cared for, wherein he would sit for a while, is when there is Hari Katha. Wherever there was the Katha of the Lord, he would spend his time leisurely. Such was this Guru. So when he found his suitable Sishya, I tell you, you don't need to go and search for Guru also. Wherever you are, with sincere devotion in your heart, faith, Shraddha in your heart, pray to that Lord Supreme. And the mechanic to work on your system will come. He is the Guru. You don't need to go Guru shopping. eguru.com. You know, when you buy your computers, what should be the memory, what should be the hard disk capacity, what should be the RAM, what should be the bus speed. There's a different bus there. What should be the screen size, whether it is an LCD or a high definition. You have different options. eguru.com. What should be the height? What should be the weight? How much bald head? How much white hair? Yeah, how much dadi? How much Mahatma? Mahan Atma Udaram Yasya. And then we search, do they fit into my criterions? ये गुरु नहीं लगता है. The point is, how can I, who have no clue about that higher state, decide that this is my Guru? Even in the secular colleges that they teach, does the student choose Who should be the qualified professor? The institution chooses the qualified person to teach these children. The children don't have a choice of choosing a professor there. Probably in this country there is a little choice wherein they can say, they can threaten the guru. At the year end, I'll have to write, what do you call it? A report. Evaluation. Rama Rama. A Shishya evaluating Guru. Ho gaya Kalyan. A grip of the students. Where will that Guru have the scope to teach even? There is no necessity to search for this Guru. As the flower blossoms, it does not advertise itself in the advertisement boards, billboards. I am blossoming tomorrow, all bees. I have lot of nectar, sweeter than the other garden. Come and take from me. The moment it blossoms, the bees come themselves. Similarly, the blossoming in here is a little introvertedness and devotional prayer to that Lord. That Guru who can understand you and take you further will come into your life. So Shukaji enters into Parikshit's life. And his promise also, he says, I am coming here to talk to you because you are interested in these kinds of questions. And because you are asking of the Lord, I am sitting, I am ready to spend the next 7 days with you. Because it was decided, 7th day he will be done. In fact, anybody sitting here has only 7 days. Monday through Sunday. 7 दिन होते हैं. If we go, we have to go in any one of those 7 days only. Like Parikshita. But even sitting now, what is the faith, the conviction? मेरा number अभी नहीं है. I am in queue, but I am not the next one in line. I still have a lot of time. Do you know that for sure? Then they go to the astrologer. Those who are remaining back after this person who has approached the astrologer has gone. The astrologer also had said that he would survive till 80. Probably it was next life. He just predicted it one life before. So this is the set of Guru and Sishya. Now when such great individuals come together, what they share, what they talk, what they discuss, becomes this beautiful text called Bhagavat Mahapurana. Revered as the very form, Shabda Brahma, as the word form of that Supreme. In fact, Lord Himself merged all His Shakti into this Bhagavat Mahapurana. This is what we read in the first canto. Now to such student, in the second canto, when Sri Shukdev Ji, after having heard these 7 questions, starts. What does he say? Shri Shuka Uvacha Variyan Yeshate Prashnaha Kruto Lokahitam Nrupa. Hey Nrupa, O king, Variyan esha prashnaha. You have asked a very shrestha prashna, very sacred question. This Variyan Shabda, this word comes even in Gayatri Mantra. Tatsaviturvarenyam. Sacred, the most chosen one, the most beautiful question that you have asked. Variyan. Variyan yesha prashnaha. Listening to your question, I feel happy. Very rare are these moments when the teacher meets a sincere student who asks the question with sincerity about that Supreme. It doesn't mean that you by heart these questions and then next time you find a Mahatma and Atah prachhami samsiddhim. Originality kahan hai? It is not cut paste. Maybe in your software engineering cut paste works. In spiritual engineering this doesn't work. That question has to come out of your own sincere bosom. Atmavit sammatah pumsam shrotavyadishu yah paraha. You have asked that kind of a question, which is, why does it become Variyan, Sreshta question? Because Lokahitam, the question that you have asked, not only you get benefited, but everybody else will also get benefited by your questions. If at all there is a question somebody has to ask, these are the kinds of questions that one has to ask. Remember in Mahabharata, we hear Yudhishthira asking the same set of questions, same kind of questions to Bhishma Pitamaha, which is the start for Vishnu Sahasranama. Ko dharma sarva dharmanam bhavatah paramo mataha kim japan muchyate jantuhu. Doesn't he ask also the same thing? Ataha japyam yat kartavyam. What kind of japa should be done? Whose japa should be done? Meaning they have tried all other paths. Every single method is tried out. And finally come to a conclusion that these are the things that have to be answered so that I find my purpose and achieve it here, now, in this very lifetime. So you have asked a very beautiful question about listening, about Shrotavyadishu, about the Manana, Nididhyasana, Shravana, specific questions that you have asked. Shrotavyadini Rajendra Nranam Santi Sahasrashaha Apashyat Atmatattvam Griheshu Grihamedhinam. Shrotavyadini, he Rajendra, O king, there are many to think about, to talk about. There are many topics. Many topics wherein all the grihasthas, all the people who are of the samsara are interested in. Today I was talking to two gentlemen. They were trying to launch a program for the radio. So Swamiji, we need ideas. We need to take this Sanatana Dharma out to a public platform. I said, that is very simple. The MP3s are already there on the web. Download them and broadcast them. Simple. And then one person said, Swamiji, when we ask, what do you mean by sincerity for a public poll or a public answer, we don't get phone calls. We take a dialogue from the movie and then ask them. which movie is this from? Kisne kab kisse kyun kaha? Before we end the question, there are already 7-8 calls. Shrotavyani, to hear to such things, there are many such topics. They form the Kali Purana, gossip chapter. Very hot. Graheshu Grahamedhinam, wherein the Grahasthas are very much involved. Where are they involved? Nidraya hriyate naktam. Naktam, at night, meaning half the time. Nidraya. Nidraya bhadraya suptam. The one who is happily sleeping at night. Diva, in the daytime. Kutumba bharane nava. Where are they interested? Where are they focused? They are focused on how much to save today, how much to project for tomorrow, how to raise the kids, why are they not listening to me, whatever I say they do exactly opposite. If I say study, they play. When I ask them to focus on their play, then they think of something else. I have found some parents who don't mind their children excelling in sports. For a change, Indian parents. Then after growing to a certain level, then the kids say, I am not interested in sports. And you made me good for nothing now because I cannot relate to the subject matter also. Why? A big question. Really, there are so many books on parenting. Believe me, none of them works. If this parent does a certain thing to this kid promises to himself, when I grow up, when I have my kids, definitely this is not the way that I am going to raise my kids. So he does exactly opposite to what his parents have done, thinking that is the best way. And then over a period of time writes a book, How to Parent. Good parenting. 101 parenting. Parenting for dummies. You have these books, right? Idiot's Guide to Parenting. Authored. Now that kid who grows up with this kind of an authored genius grows up believing, never ever like this kind of a father. When I grow up, it will be a different set of parenting. More liberal, more open. Exactly opposite. Kutumba bharane nava. Deha apatya kalatradishu. And what are the things that he is interested in? He says, Deha, Putra, Stri, Dhana, Griha, Adishu, etc., etc., etc. You can now multiply on it. Tesham pramatto nidhanam pashyannapi chana pashyati. Adi Shankaracharya took that particular usage. Pashyannapi chana pashyati moodhaha. The one who sees it but still does not make use of that which he is seeing. Like you see a wall, right? You see a wall. Knowing, observing, relating to it that it is a wall, you walk straight into it. Pashyan apichana pashyati. What would you call that person who hits himself into the wall? Moodha vidottama. Because you see it but yet not cognize it. Tasmat Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavyaha Kirtitavyaha Smaratavyas. There is only one thing that the Purusha should be doing. What is it? Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi, of that Bhagavan, great Lord Hari, Shrotavyaha, listen to his great glories. Kirtitavyaha, speak about, share about those glories. Smartavyaha, contemplate on the great glories of the Lord. Just the chanting of the name of the Lord is more sufficient. And the logic goes very beautiful. He says, like if you have to call your friend, right? Subbarao, Ramarao, you have to call. When you call them by that name, you grab their attention and bring them to you. Meaning, the name has that kind of a power on the form. So when you are thinking constantly of that name of Lord, that name has the power to bring the Lord directly to your darshana. That is the power of that name. When you start chanting the name, you are calling out the Lord. We have seen so many Mahatmas. In spite of reaching to the highest state of Advaita Tattva, where would they love to revel? In the Kirtan of the Lord. See, even Hanumanji, where does he love spending his time? Wherever there is Ram Kirtana going on, he attends. That is how Tulsidas ji found the mantra. So all great devotees who are reveling there love listening to the Lord. Even after having reached to the heights of Advaita Tattva. So those who have to reach to that height, why not start listening to the glories of the Lord? Prayena munayo rajan nivritta. Nivrittaha, they are totally withdrawn. The only thing that can become their pravritti is the thought of the Lord. Nothing else interests them, nothing else can capture their mind. Because anything other than the Lord, if the mind gets captured, they have not yet reached there. The one who still claims that the mind is his own, they have not reached anywhere. The one who says that the mind is the only place wherein, if at all I need a movement, if at all I need to think about something, it has to be the thought of the Lord. I am sure many of you are thinking, Swamiji, talk something practical. Bhagavat, sab theek hai. It doesn't appear very practical. What is practicality? We want God also. The point is, we don't hate God. In fact, sometimes we love Him also. Thing is, but there are so many responsibilities, duties, obligations. None of the duties, responsibilities, obligations are greater than, higher than the Lord. The first responsibility of an individual, of a human being, if at all we claim ourselves to be human being, is in relation to the Lord as a devotee. Next comes any other responsibility. Once that focus is not there, when there is this bullock cart and the horses yoked to the cart, There are those wheels that spin, that move. To have those wheels in place, what do they have to make sure of? That there is a jack that goes in, making sure that the wheel doesn't come off. If you have to maintain this other duties and responsibilities without losing the balance, what is that jack that goes in to keep them in place? Is your cognition of first responsibility, that is to that Lord. Now what are we doing? I am important. Then my family, my house, my things, they are important. My friends, they are important. My social life is important. My party life is important. My office is also important. At the end, when they have these advertisements, there are those finer print. Finer than that is Lord also. We are great devotees. But reprioritize. The other things are not which are to be heard of. What is to be heard of is this great Lord. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Adhitavan Dvaparadau Piturdvaipayanadaham. This glory that I am going to share to you, O Raja, is called Bhagavatam Nama Purana. Is a great Purana called Bhagavatam. Brahma Samhitam. Even the great gods come down to listen to this Bhagavat Mahashastra. It seems gods came down bargaining with Vyasji. We have this nectar. You take this nectar. Give Bhagavatam to us so that we will take there. That is why it is called Bhagavatamritam. Then Vyasji said, your Amrita is limited. Once you take, it is gone. Done with. But this has that kind of nectar in quality that as many times as you keep reading it, the nectar in quality increases. Yours decreases. I don't care for your decreasing Amrita. This is the Amrita which is always increasing. So even the gods want this kind of Bhagavata. Now you may ask, where did I get this knowledge? He says, Dvaparadau, in the very beginning of Dvapara Yuga, Pituhu Dvaipayanat, my father Vyasji, he taught me this knowledge. And now, Tadaham te abhidhasyami mahapaurushiko bhavan. You are a great individual, a great devotee, and that is why I want to give you this knowledge. Why did you become a great devotee? He says, Yasya shraddhadatam ashuhu syan mukunde madhi sati. For the one who has such great desire to see the Lord, Mukunda, even if you have that Shraddha to see the Lord, you are a great person. And because you have that desire inside to see that Lord, I don't mind spending 7 days with you. Meaning, imagine, from this standpoint, when I look at Gurudev, wherein he was there all reveling in that supreme state, and he had to come to all these people. And who were the kind of people that were around Gurudev? thugs of the highest order, crooks of the highest order. Who had nothing to do with spirituality. He had more compassion than Shukadevji. We were getting disturbed. Swami ji, Chinmay mission ka naam bigad jayega. You know, with such people, the mission's stature will be ruined. So Gurudev very compassionately answered. Where do you think the patients will be? In the hospital, around the doctor. Will the hospital get a bad name because there are deceased people, ill people that is where they are supposed to be. So that they can get good health being in close proximity to the doctor. And he gave a very beautiful example. He said, where do you think all these kinds of Rudra Ganas, those were the people when this whole creation was created, they were creating lot of trouble in the world. Where are they? They are now around Shiva. Why does Shiva have to have them, contain them? So that these people are not let loose in the world to disturb and distract the world. And he said, I don't care for those people who are already good. It is such rogues who have to be corrected, changed and modified. I said, that is the purpose of my mission, he said. And then at the end, he always had these punchlines to hit it right in the spot. He looked at us all. Yuva Kendra, why do you think I allowed you people to be in here in the first place? That was like, ooh. Smack in the face, tap. Shukadevji says, because you have this zeal, this interest, this shraddha to know about the Lord, I am going to share this knowledge to you. Kim pramattasya bahubihi parokshayir hayanairiha varam muhurtam viditam ghateta shreyase yataha. Here, Shukadevji says, कल कुछ करना पड़ेगा इनका. Those people who don't know what is Shreyas for them, what is absolute good for them, do not even cognize that their life is not long enough. But those who are of subtle intellect know what is the end, what happens after this end. Hence, they make use of this available time in the most necessary prioritized things, which happens to be Hari Kirtanam. Antakale tu purushaha agate gata sadhvasaha. Antakale agate. When the last moment has come, he does not have the vairagya to give up the body. Still clinging on to the body, trying to maintain it so that he sees longevity through that body. Now why is it that this thing happens? He says, the Atma by itself is of an immortal nature, which is never born, never dies. It is the body that is seemingly having a birth and seemingly having a death. And when the Atma becomes this body, some of the qualities of that Atma are sought after through the body. One of which is immortality. The second of which is being happy. As long as we are the body, living through the body, as the body, we cannot be happy. In order to have that vairagya, to get out of the body consciousness so that we can reach to that Lord, the only way to be happy is taking the name of the Lord. That asangata, that dispassion should be there towards the body. Without having that dispassion, asanga shastrena spraham dehe anuchaye chatam. Asanga shastrena. We get this same word even in Bhagavad Gita. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Asanga shastrena, with the detached existence. Detached to what? Not somebody else, not somewhere else. You don't need to detach from the world. Detach from your body, the other attachments are gone by themselves. When you take away the very root cause which is causing the problem, the other things will never exist. When you look at Kautilya's life, Kautilya, Chanakya, he always attacked the root problem. He was once going out of the city and there's a thorn that pricks into his leg. He said, as a good citizen, what that he could have done is take away the thorn and throw it in such a place that it doesn't disturb any other person walking. They said that is not sufficient for him. So he goes back into the city, but gets some sugar water. There are these white ants around. So he digs a hole, a channel, from that white ant's hole to this plant, digs through the roots and pours this sugar water. And the white ants transmigrate from there to here, and within no time, that whole plant, along with the roots, are eaten up. And this is called na rahegi bas, na bajegi basuri. You take care of the root problem, the other peripherals, they will never be a distraction. The main cause of our problem is the identification through this body. If that be cut off, the rest of the problems can be taken care of. So here, Parikshit ji asks, in order to take away this identification, what is it that I should do? He didn't question. But this is so strong, why should I give up? His question was, how should I make sure that this bodily identification can be given up? Brahman dharana yatra sammata yadrishi va hare dashu purushasya manomalam. Purushasya manomalam, manamalam, malam, the impurity of the internal equipment to think itself as this limited body is the impurity. How should we remove it? The greatness in this Bhagavad Mahapurana is, whenever a question is asked, you don't need to search for the answer through the Bhagavad Mahapurana. The very next 2-3 shlokas, the whole answer is given and then expounded upon. That is the beauty of Bhagavat. The moment Parikshit ji asked this question, Shukadev ji says, Shri Shuka uvacha jitasano jitashvasaha jitasango jitendriyaha sthule bhagavato rupe manas sandharayed dhiya. He says, jitasanaha. The first thing is master the asana. Asana, the seating posture in which you should sit for meditation. What is called Jitasana? It is also known in the Yoga Shastra as Asana Siddhi. Without Asana Siddhi, there is no Dhyana Siddhi. What is Jitasana? Having the ability to sit in a posture wherein you are so focused on that sublime supreme that this body does not become a hindrance. Every Sunday, every single Sunday, I know there is a limited space, but still, if while you are sitting, you sit in an organized manner. We don't need to move the crowd. Please move forward. Please take away all that which is in front of you, spread like a dukan. Put them in and take it into your lap and provide space, and you keep moving them. The intelligent one sits in such a place wherein there is no further disturbance expected. Like when they come into the temple, the best thing is walk straight in so that the next people coming in, when they come in, don't have to peep through. Because you are already blocking the doorway. That is not the place to stand. Come right in so that you are not disturbed in your focus during that arati or while you are in front of the Lord. You are sitting in such a place wherein you will constantly be disturbed. And then say, pata nahi log late kyun aate hain? When you come early and people keep asking you to move, you criticize them. It's very difficult to understand the other man's perspective. And when you come late, you keep cursing from behind. Unka kya bigड़ता है? थोड़ा आगे जाते तो? They should understand, there are so many reasons why we could come late. Can't they accommodate and move forward? The same mind speaking, double standards. What a double standard. And they say, I try to accommodate for people, I understand them. Khak understand. So sitting in a posture wherein you sit in such firmness that never ever to be moved until that work is done. Even if there is no disturbance from external causes. Internal causes are enough. As long as the body is not in a firm posture, where can we meditate? Where is the focus? Dhyana means it is focused on a certain thing. Yes, when your body is moving, you are having dhyana. Of what? Of this body. Sit straight. I tell you, my back, lower back. Such hurting. Your complete focus, attention is on that particular spot of your back or your knee or your shoulder where it is hurting the most. When the person doesn't have jitasana and then says, Swamiji, teach meditation. What can you teach to such person? And then the next question is, what kind of meditation do you teach? It's like an anxious parent who wants his kid to become a doctor. Almost all typical Indians. I found this parent who shifted from Florida. Swami, we moved into Plano. We found that there is a good environment there, nice affluent family, there are nice brilliant kids, the school district is doing good. My child, when he has good group around, he has a nice environment around, so he'll have a good education and nice growing. I said, where is your kid? And there was this small little kid, 3.5, 4 years fellow, sitting in chair in one corner. This parent is already in the med school. The same anxiety even for meditation. Jita asana. Asana is not jita. And then talking of, that is why I say, Delhi bahut dur hai. The second thing, jita shvasaha. How many times in the past 4.5 years I must have not dwelled on this particular topic. Awareful breathing. Be conscious of your breath. Not just on the seat of meditation, but any moment of your waking time, consciously breathe in and breathe out. Or there is already breathing in and out happening, be conscious of it. Such a way, like a woman who in earlier days they used to go far away places to fetch water. The houses did not have taps connected. So they used to go to the nearby well or a pond. Sometimes it would be a couple of miles. So they don't want to keep going in and out. So they carry 2, 1, and then on the head there are 3. Sometimes when they go for selling milk or yogurt, they also have these multiple layers. And are they very serious? Shh! Don't disturb. I have to focus. They normally go in groups, 4 or 5 ladies, probably gossiping about their in-laws, outlaws, having fun. And their focus internally is in maintaining that balance. They're laughing, they're talking, they're looking around, carrying that weight. One after the other. They're not, glued to each other. They're just placed. That kind of focus on your breathing, whatever you are doing, whether you are talking, whether you are listening, whether you are sleeping, other than sleeping, whether you are eating, whether you are doing your work, whether you are driving, whatever you are involved in, having that awareness of breath. The moment you are completely aware of your breath, it comes to its sahaja sthiti, wherein it is a normal, long inhalation and long exhalation. It becomes normal status. Because any time the mind gets agitated, what is agitated is your breath. So the first step is the asana. Second step is shvasa. Jita sangaha. Jita sangaha, dropping away, giving up all your identifications and attachments. For the moment when you are sitting on the seat of meditation, sit like a nobody. Don't sit like a wife, don't sit like a husband, don't sit like a mother, don't sit like a father, don't sit like a boss, don't sit like a servant. Or else what will happen? You become a mother and sit, the only thing that you are contemplating. You have jitasana, you have jita shvasa, but what are you contemplating? बच्चे को आज स्कूल छोड़ने के बाद मैं वहां जाकर एक खरीद के आऊंगी, then I'll pick up, then I'll drop there, then I'll pick what? About the child. So sit like a nobody on the seat of meditation is called Jitasangaha. Jitendriyaha. Shut, plug in all your indriyas. Close your eyes. We have anyway selective hearing, right? After the lecture, only the jokes are remembered. Selective hearing. Apply it. Focus in such a way that nothing is heard in that particular 15-20 minutes. Jitendriyaha. Sthule bhagavato rupe manasandharaye dhiya. With the buddhi, focus on sthula form of the Lord, on a form of the Lord. It is not saying, close your eyes. As long as we have this bodily identification, it is so strong that we behave, we live, we survive as a body. The form, meditating on the form is a must, is a necessity. I cannot relate to any God. Swami Akhandanand Ji Maharaj says, Bakwas band karo. If you cannot relate to any God, relate to Lord Krishna from today. There are so many things in life which we made a habit. Whether they are positive or negative, I am not talking the virtue of it. Those loose cuss words. After coming here, staying a couple of years, something really shocking happens. Jesus Christ! ये नया कब से शुरू हो गया? You are not born with it. The typical Indian way of saying, oh my God. You are not saying that earlier. It became a habit. Make it a habit, though it is a habit which may not be very interesting, mechanical in the beginning. Make it a habit to focus on the Lord. Sthule bhagavato rupe manas sandharayet. Why that sthula bhava? Why that sthula rupa of the Lord? What kind of sthula rupa can be taken into consideration? This dharana, to have the capacity to focus on one particular form, theme of that Supreme, is called dharana. When the focus of this mind so attached to the body is shifted to a different form, this identification to this form weakens and withers away. Detach from this, attach it to there. That is called dharana. The further process of dharana is explained. I knew I was going beyond time, but it was already in dhara. About dharana, I didn't want to stop it there. We'll continue tomorrow. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. As a simple note, Rupaji was kind enough to bring in 2 sets of Bhagavatam with English translation, Sanskrit shloka and English translation. Available, I think I've kept it outside there for 20